you have to look at all your costs before you push anything. So that's the financial control. Okay, financial control is something that is mandatory for the finance department or the CFO. So usually CFO has someone helping them. If you're a big organization, it's called financial controller. The financial controller will help the CFO do one thing. Now, if accountant is someone that look at the past, okay, looking at the record, recording everything, and if the CFO is someone to look into the future, predicting the future, the crystal ball, building your valuation that has not happened yet, setting all the projections, then I would say the financial controller is someone living the present. Okay? He look at now, what is happening at this moment. So that is a financial controller. So you can look at financial. The CFO is future, accountant is the past, financial controller is in the present. So financial controller are the financial controls. The process are the procedures, policies, and means by which an organization, okay, control the finance. FC monitor and control the direction, location, and usage of the financial resources. Okay, so you have to control all these things and monitor profit margin. Okay, provisional dividend. Now, if you don't have financial controller, usually your dividend will not be good. And to recapitalize the economy, the company. Remember the budget hotel syndrome? We say that after a while, they have no more capital. So they have to juggle between these two accounts called the OPEX and CAPEX. Do not underestimate this procedure. This procedure is very, very powerful. This is the very core of resource management, KPI performance, and operating efficiency. Now, you can do a good business. If you do not do financial control, chances are you are not going to have money in your company. And that is a big problem with many companies. And when you have a crisis, any crisis, like COVID is a crisis, then you realize that you have no money. And we are seeing this thing happening all the time. Many companies just do not have the resources. Okay, they have resources to. They don't have resources to handle a crisis. So now the basis of financial control, when we talk about SPV, we always have to pay up, and with that, we always bank in. Like in Warsaw, we have this PKO bank. Okay, so we open a PKO bank, 100,000. And we will do this as a current account. Someone asked me, should we do in the fixed deposit? Yeah, the other day I was with Henrik. I was saying that no one become rich because of fixed deposit. I've never seen a tycoon arise out of fixed deposit. I need a very good account, okay, that's convenient, okay, for the operation of the current account. If you have very strong internet banking, you can use that as well. If you are very strong in checking, the checks also powerful because you can do post-dated something like that is useful. And this account is controlled by the CEO, CFO, and COO. Okay, you can choose them as one of the signatory on this side and countersigned by the board of directors. Okay. Now, we all do this, okay, because we have to pay the accountant, we have to pay the corporate setup costs, all this. But very few people do this. This is what we should do. Always do the secondary account. So in Poland, we do this as the mBank, okay, the mobile bank. So here, we transfer the bulk of the money back to our second account. Now, the reason why we always set up the first account first is because we need to get the officer to start the whole project. Okay. Now the secondary account is useful because this is actually the strategic account. It is controlled by the board of directors. Okay. So this management have no say in this account unless you overlap. You are also the CEO, you also BOD. Now this account generally belongs to the shareholder or the directors. And we'll split this account into capital account, okay, where we recoup capital, and provisional dividend account. This is where we keep your potential payout, okay, the dividend. Now, these two is part of the same account. It's just that we, on paper, we are keeping track of this, and on paper, we are keeping track of this. Now, this is a duty of the guy called the financial controller, okay, FC, to look at this. Okay. And when we do fundraising, we raise money. At angel round, it come to the account, the bank. And we also do fundraising. Okay. And we'll put this account from venture capital, the Series A, Series B, Series C, Series D private equity come to this account. You realize that this account is getting a lot of money, right? And all the capital, investment banker. So when you deal with something like SoftBank, not SoftBank, like Uber, like Grab, one round can mean 100 million coming in, right? So that's the kind of things we're talking about. Okay, please mute your microphone. Right.
CK, I think your mic is always on and off.
Mine?
If you can, no, CK, Tan CK.
Yeah. Okay, investment bank come in, and the public, when you go listing, they use this bank account. This is the bank account you apply for your IPO. Okay, so make sure this account is something that's good, and you have millions and millions and millions in paid up. Okay, so this is a concept we have shown before, and we call this CAPEX account and this OPEX account. Okay, this is where we are heading. So the OPEX account, we have to understand it. Operating expenses are the cost of company incur for running their day-to-day operations. Operating expense, OPEX, right? Fully handled by the CEO, CFO, and COO. Is covered by the budget. Example, okay, what do we do? Rent, utilities, wages, salaries, accounting and legal fees, everything is paid by this account. Overhead costs, SG&A, okay, so selling general and administrative expenses, property taxes, business travel, so whatever interest you have to service in that and so on. NASH, your service fee is from here. Okay, so this is something that you have to do. Now, on the other hand, there's a CAPEX account. Everything from CAPEX account to be approved by the board of directors. Okay, purchase of significant goods, machineries, services, or anything that will improve a company's performance in the future. Okay, plant, property, and equipment (PP&E). Okay, so usually we use that. Most of the things you buy here will result to depreciation. Okay, so capital expenditure usually will depreciate because it's used not one time, it's used over a period of time. So the diminishing value of money will happen here, right? So let's say I buy a super machinery, like maybe not a rig, but maybe a tractor is here. If I do something like even I build a watch tower just for security, it's still also here. One of the feature is longevity, means it's used for a long time, okay, more than usually one financial year. That's the reason why it has depreciation. So CAPEX, we have to recoup. Common example including plants, equipment, and machinery to improve our building, the computers, or all the other communication devices, vehicle and trucks. So these are the things that is the CAPEX, right? So now we look carefully. There's a thing called budget. For the management, the CEO, CFO, and the board directors to communicate, a budget have to be set, and this budget have to get the board directors approval. Now this process, in fact, most of the time they deal with Nash. Nash has handled the company, but he's a Nash mentor for bigger companies. The first thing Nash will set up is the financial control system. When you form your new SPV, the first thing you do upon the first bank account is to figure out the OPEX and CAPEX structure. Nash will probably ask you to do shareholder roll call, and after that you do a roll, ROLE, roll call, whereby who takes what role in the company, And that's the time you set up who are the directors and who are the one who sign and take care of this component. And the money based on budget will be transferred to this side, right? And the drawdown is controlled by financial controller. Okay. Now the board may oversees the millions of dollars here, financial controller here, right? And I keep on repeating this because I want it to hammer into your mind. And the more time I repeat this, the more important it is. Now, it's progressively. Never draw down the whole budget at one go. Now, for example, you budgeted for your kid to go to school with their pocket money. Now, what happens if you pay him the whole lump sum? Probably he will not know how to balance it. He probably use it all. Dad, after 2 months, they say, Dad, I use up all the money for the whole year, right? Now, the same thing happened to management. You do not draw down the whole thing. You draw down based on either the time frame, the budget, based on the budget time frame, or based on progress payment. Okay, so you pay them progressively. It is a good practice to monitor just progressively. We can check and balance. Bear in mind that most board meeting, most of the board will have 6 times a year meeting, okay, or quarterly, 4 times a year. People like me, I prefer you to have at least maybe 10 meetings a year. Board. That's the time you actually have the CFO there. You talk to the CFO. You want them to know what is. Now, just bear in mind that 2 officers never attend the meeting. The accountant is not at the meeting, and the financial controller is not at the meeting. The one who attends the meeting is the CFO. So the CFO must get to know all these intricacies so he can report to the board. The CFO is always in attendance at the board meeting, right? Now, we have to repay money that we use. Okay, we have to repay back to the bank. So this is something that we all have to do, right? And when you repay whatever money that come in, including the takings, the daily takings, we split them 30-70, right? That's the way for us to control the replenishment of capital. Now let's look carefully at the company. Okay, let's say that we have many rounds. We have the IPO, investment banker round, Series B, Series A, angel, and the founder. Let's say that this high risk, this low risk. So high risk, you have high return. Low risk, you have low return. Okay, this is what we do. And usually, until angel, it is pre-revenue, no income. So an idea at ideation stage, the founder will think of the idea, right? And he need to fund it. Co-founder, you cannot raise too much money. They are just your industry guy, your strategy guys, and so on. Okay, and then angel. Next and myself, we are actually the co-founder into this MD what call that? Astam Bachos company. Okay. MDC. So we go in as co-founder. Yeah, it is more expensive than founder round, but generally you cannot raise too much money, right? So we raise about 100K, that's all. So at angel round, we need to raise more money. You raise enough money to do your proof of concept. Okay, now angel round, if you do not raise enough money to do proof of concept, you are going to be stuck. You are not going to reach Series A. When you do proof of concept, you have to prove few things. Hashtag POC, proof of concept. You have to prove that there's a market. You have to prove that the idea can work. You have to prove that there's customer base that is willing to pay, not just having a market, but they are willing to pay you. Okay, you have to prove the concept that you can close the loop. What do you mean by close the loop? From order, taking order, to delivery, and so on. Now, this is a danger because at this stage, you are building, including your IT networks and so on, and they may not have a market, right? So this is something that we want to do. And usually the angel, they are more forgiving. So these are the forgiving guys, the friends, family, and fools. So industry lingo is called friends, family, and fools. right? So I've been the biggest fool, I think. I invest in so many companies. The group, personally, 14 companies. All the investment group have reached more than 200 over companies. In MOC, there are 400 over public companies in Malaysia and Singapore alone. Okay, among our friends, we have more than 400. Now, what does that mean? When you look at the stock exchange in Malaysia, they have 1,000 companies only on the main board, on the major boards. So our alumni is generating a lot of companies on the way to attack the stock exchange, right? The same thing with Singapore, there are 1,000 plus company. So we are actually pushing quite a lot of things in the number. So people like me who invest in so many that I'm not their friends or family, I must be the fool. I'm the biggest fool, right? And institutional, so you realize that these are individual. The founder, the co-founders, they are all individuals. Now, from Series A, Series B, C, D, there's always this thing called the institutional, and they need KPI. Okay, so this is the thing that we talk about, the KPI. Now, at this stage, can I still sell to individual? Yes. If you are the owner, you can cut a small little piece, a small little pie here, and because we still go by lot and tranches, although we're asking for 100 million, so you can still create, if you want, small pieces of tranches and lots here. Now, usually the tranche size is big. You try, when you design share, hashtag designing shares, lock in the lot size. Okay, the lot. For example, let's say my lot is 25,000. My tranches could be 100,000. My tranches could be 250,000. But my lot is 25,000, for example. So when I'm raising 100 million, my tranche will change, but my lot, try to maintain it, right? Try to maintain the lot size so that we can have a consistency from founder all the way to IPO. Now, IPO is the only one that we no longer use your lot size because we go by the stock exchange. Last time Malaysia is 1,000 shares, Singapore is 1,000 shares, now it's 100 shares. Okay, most countries now go for 100 shares lot size. So our lot try to be standardized. The tranches changes because as you go on the series, right, the institutional, they have a bigger appetite for that. And say, okay, I have 100 million, you guys understand that? That's your aspiration. When you quantify aspiration, you put a figure to that. 100 million, less than half, 248, less than half, 120, okay, half or less than half, 58, less than half, 28, and founder say 100,000. Okay. Now, it's a good practice to start a company with 100,000 if you can afford. But people like me, you know, I come from a village, and I always try my luck. All the time I build companies with 10,000, right? Why 10,000? There's a minimum. Okay, you can be less than that. You can do 5,000, but it is a very convenient amount to issue shares. Okay, and some people may criticize you if you do that, but don't worry. It's proven. We have listed so many companies that can start with 10,000. Okay, it's no problem. Okay, so I think that most startup, especially young guys from university, we encourage them to start off with at least 10,000. Okay, you don't need to have a lot, but you must have a very good network. And these are the pre-IPO shares. Many people in the market now, especially in Singapore, Malaysia, and in Indonesia, they talk about pre-IPO shares. Even Vietnam, they talk about pre-IPO shares. Now, for me, pre-IPO shares is not so interesting because anything before IPO is pre-IPO shares. Anything before IPO. So it can be here, 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 or here. I'm not very excited over here, right? Because the return is only one time. I'm more keen with founder shares, co-founder shares, all up to angel. I think that if you are someone who take risks, you can do founder, co-founder, and angels. Now this will be very interesting, right? This is a time when the company needs to prove a concept, right? But people like me, I aim for founder shares, right? You know, because you don't have so much choice. If you come to see me for private equity, yes, I may invest. I use Fatana Ventures to invest in you. But you want Dr. Wong personal, I try to go for founder shares. Why? Right? If my value
Come
you
here,
cannot
show
see, then I
Teacher
won't join
says
you.
founder
My
is
value is to
like
transform your
I make a
0.1
company with
million
you.
or 0.01
We
million
are the
to become
owner.
500 million or 1
You have
billion.
a
That's
good
my
idea.
value.
You make a circuit
I don't think
and you sell to your friend.
I cannot imagine that someone say that,
And
oh,
I
my
have
marketing
money.
guy
You
is
don't
very
have.
good.
So
I think
you have
I think
ideas.
I
I give
the
some
value
money.
that
We
we
buy
present,
something. We
Nash and
make
myself
into
present is to
like
transform this
your class
legally.
have 40 people.
And the
We
second
make
thing
the
I
circuit.
do
We sell
is
to them.
institutional.
And we make money.
A lot of people think that,
So
this is
we
very
are
easy.
founders.
Now, until you go
And
to
then
institutional,
because your
I've
class
shown
want
the
to
institutional
buy a lot,
context,
then you
right?
make for the
Then you
next
realize that
class.
it's not easy to
Next
get it
door.
done. So when we do financial
So we don't have
control,
money.
you must have
so
a
ask
feel
mommy. So mommy become
for this
angel.
figure.
Angel
So what do we
is
feel?
like
The
angel.
profit KPIs to support this,
Come
the profit
here.
KPIs to support
Yeah, and
this,
give us
the profit
money.
KPIs to
We
support
buy more
this,
stuff.
and
We
so
make
on. So that
more
these are
stuff.
what
we
we
build
call
the circuit.
the
We sell to other class to
fundamentals.
make money.
When we talk about company fundamentals, right? Now every time when
This is
people
the
interview
organization. Maybe you want to
in
sell
the
for
you know those all this
whole
Bloomberg and so on, we
great
talk about
one
it depends on the
in the world.
fundamentals. Everybody talk
Or
about
in the
fundamentals. So
country.
what is the fundamentals?
So many.
You ask
We
the
don't
accountant
have
what's the
enough
fundamentals.
money.
They
So we ask from the organization.
no, it's not the sales. It's the profit. The profit KPI.
IPO.
We are all driven.
Go.
It's not changed by the profit KPIs. So these are the fundamentals.
IPO
And
is,
now there's another thing that's very important
exchange.
that you must feel when you do financial control.
Exchange
You do not
marketplace.
dilute more than you need.
Always working there.
Do not dilute your shares more than you need. And you do not raise fund less than what you need. Right? But can I dilute more? Yes, you can, but do not dilute more than you need. Let's say I need only 10%. Can I dilute 50%? You can. But why you dilute 50%? Especially at this round. You raise so little money. Right? So we do that. So here you dilute say 10%, dilute another say 10%, and so on. That's what we do. So when we dilute, we have a thing we chart out a dilution path. Why do we chart the dilution path? In financial control terms, we need to check how much capital that we are raising. Okay, we need to check. And you have to check it against the capital raise. Can you complete your IPO target? A lot of people just raise fund for the sake of fundraising. But can you raise enough money to complete the journey? I think that is something we have to understand. Right? And this calculation allows us to calculate the exit. Okay, exit for each one of them. We all know that in the companies, they only have 3 ending. You close down, right? You bankrupt or close down, or you actually just close shop. You sell off. Okay, we say you have merger acquisition, you sell off, okay, or trade sale, or you go listing. So go listing. So here, if you go listing, then we want to know when you enter, you exit. Venture capital, when they enter, when they exit. When they enter, exit, what is the amount that they can get? Now, here, if I dilute 10%, I get 2.8 million. So here, 0.1, so it's 2.9, right? And here, if I dilute 20%, I get 11.6 million. Now, when we need this, do not assume that you are going to sell all your shares, right? Do not assume. What is your minimum sum that you need? Maybe I'm trying to raise 11.6 million, but I may need only about 8 million. 8 million is all I need, right? So I'm targeting 11.6, but 8 million. So my minimum sum is 8 million. So I have to write a figure that I can use. And if I do not hit the minimum sum, I have to return all the money to my investors, right? Then that round is void. We'll try another round. And 20% here to raise 24 million, okay? And 20% here raise the for is 9.6 million. And say this is Singapore, so we raise 20% to raise 100 million. And the total money I raise is here, the founder, 0.1, 10% here, 20% here. I raised 188.1 million. So I've raised 188.1 million, right? This is the amount that I have. And if you look carefully, right, based on the figure we have, these are not 1 year. 1 year, 1 year, 1 year, 1 year. You cannot be 1 year. What if I do series A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N? I cannot be doing 14 years. No investor wants to wait 14 years. No angel wants to wait 14 years. Now, no matter how many rounds you do, complete it in 3, 4, or 5 years. Okay, max 6 years. Don't give me a 10 years plan. In my time, 10 years plan is long term. 5 years plan is mid term. 1 year's plan is short term. In the internet age, 5 years is long term. So you do a long term, 5 years, 3 years, and 1 year. Because it don't make sense for me to lock up my money for more than 5 years for a project that's not proven. So I need to complete my things. Try to plan your IPO 3 years, 36 months, 3.5 years, 42 months, okay, 48 months, okay, right? Maybe 50 months, 51 months, 52 months is okay. Plan it, right? Because you may overshoot, you can take a longer time. So because it's not 1 year, 1 year, 1 year, it's one round, one round, one round. Hashtag one round, not 1 year. Now, so we actually doing something. You don't have to finish everything before start the next one. When I'm doing my founder round, I'm doing my founder's KPI, I start my angel round. You don't have to start this whole thing after the founder round, then you start. So we run in parallel. And while I'm still doing founder round, my venture capital round also started, right? Because the whole process is very long. When you do a round, you're executing the whole thing. You're implementing. Now, a lot of people make mistakes. They think that I finish one, I start this one. I finish this one, I start this one. It's going to be endless, right? And if this thing is behind schedule, you extend that round. Okay, you extend the work to be done for the round. So, firstly, it's not per year. A lot of people think this 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year, 5 years, 6 years. No, it cannot be year. Okay, it's a time. And the round don't have to complete, implement everything. Okay, so try to just do things in parallel. Okay, now let's look carefully how we integrate this whole thing. Again, I told you the more time I show you means the more important it is. Form the SPV, do the paid up, okay, set up the bank account. Okay, and what do? Make sure that it's controlled by the right guys and do the transfer. Right? Set the right control in place. Right? You have these two accounts that you want to handle and fundraising. Right? Our 80K, right? So how much I raised? I raised 2.8 million, right? 2.8 million. What do I get? I raised 2.8 million. Right? And so I handle this. And next round I do fundraising. How much I get? 11.6 million. So what do I inject? 11.6 million. Right? So this is where it happened. And next round, I raised 24 million. What do? I raised 24 million. Right? And next round, I do 49.6 million. Here I pump in 49.6 million. So these are the things that I have to ensure that is being done. And here, I do the public 100 million. So what do? 100 million comes here. Now, contrast this, right? So I have 188.1 million. This is the total paid up in the company, right? So I have 188.1 million in the bank. Now look carefully. This guy here have 20K, 20,000. And here I controlling 188 million. You know why most SME put their family and relatives on this side? They don't trust people, right? So they put their sister-in-law, or their wife. No, there is a pattern that happened in Vietnam, in Indonesia, Singapore, Malaysia, and South Africa also. Why always the relative control this? Now, when you compare this, you realize that it is not important for our relative to do that, because it is important for the board directors. They're in control of 188 million. We have to set in place a control mechanism, okay, that's powerful. And here is almost like a kind of bigger petty cash, right? So the management who's controlling here cannot touch the money, right? So what happened? I don't have to use my sister-in-law. I don't have to use my wife. I go for the best possible management team. Hashtag best possible management team. Most people, they raise fund and yet they did not get the best possible management team. I've seen that happen in many projects. And sometimes they don't listen. Right? Now, if you raise something like 60, 70 million, what is stopping you from employing someone? Right? I mean, he's good. When I say best possible management team is this guy has the ability to transform a vision into
The
reality.
teacher said money
This guy have the ability
have to
to
break into two
implement.
accounts. One
Right?
is
You know how
for the
you know what's the
management team
bottleneck
to
in the
use.
red dot theory?
Let them use.
The red dot is the
The
bottleneck.
other is for
Because
BOD,
everything is done by
board
the red dot.
directors. Many people here
Right? And that
control
is a
this
big
number,
problem.
this number
Because
is
you don't have
a
a
lot
team.
more than this one.
So when we have best possible management team, right, and we look at OPEX, they're running the OPEX. The CAPEX is the most trustworthy guy that the shareholder elect. Now,
Why is the angel?
your duty as a board director
Hmm.
Why
is to
the
transform your aspiration,
angel?
okay, and pass it to the best possible management team
Or
on this
angel
side.
put money here.
The board director's main
And later
duty
you
is to set
transfer
the
here.
KPI.
If this
Right?
management team
Now, you have to
give you
agree
a
on the
proper
KPI.
plan. I need
The
money to
CEO
do this, to do this,
have
to
to
this.
sit
You
with
say,
the board
okay, then you
to
transfer
agree
your
on the
money to
KPI.
them.
Because the BOD will say
just
that we
spend
go
out.
IPO 300 million, 500 million, 700 million,
Nobody
250
teach me.
million. It is set by
I
here.
don't know.
Just
But
now,
now
just
you
before the
know.
class start, I have
No,
a
I
discussion
just
with
know. I make a
Bjorn,
company and I don't know
who did Thai
anything.
Odyssey.
So for many years,
He's
20 years.
restarting his life.
20
No,
years.
he's actually rebuilding
That's
a new group.
impossible. You
Okay.
stay there
And
for 20
we
years.
agree.
And I don't know this.
To set the KPI for IPO. At IPO at 330 million, 330. That's all. Modest, not big. Now we have the KPI. Now, if you are the red dot, you are the best possible team. If you think so, fine.
Is many
Now,
honor.
best possible
See,
means if you have no
we force
money,
the
then you are the best
CEO
possible. So we do a KPI.
to
And what
the
do we do
KPI.
here? We get the
Key
CEO to run the
performance
business plan.
indicators.
Here is a new
Because of the
plan.
KPI, the pink color, the
Not
KPI,
CEO.
the maroon,
It-
the CEO has to build the business plan
CEO.
to hit the KPI. Now, there's a business plan that we want. A business plan is not a document that sounds good, logical. It should be tied in with our KPI,
Plan.
right? So here, if you remember the first lecture that we done,
Ow.
all the blocks or all the verticals have to be selected by the CEO. The CEO have to put in all the verticals to complete the KPI. Now, if the board of directors is setting a KPI of $1 billion, the CEO have to come up with a business plan that can do $1 billion KPI. And how do you do 1 billion? You have to select all the verticals, the SPV, the first block, the second block, third block, fourth block. We always recommend that you have 4 blocks. But for KPI, we use 1 block. The first block, okay, hashtag, the first block will carry the entire weightage of the KPI. Right? Means the first block, the first vertical, by design, we try to design to carry the entire weightage. Block 2, block 3, block 4, ideally is profit pool. So we actually monetize that the whole supply chain and select from the value chain what we want to monetize in the profit pool. So hashtag first vertical is something that you are very familiar. Usually it's the same thing with what you were originally, the old company. Right? And 2, 3, 4 are usually profit pool. Now from this business plan, the COO must arrange the calendar of events. Okay, calendar of events, the schedule. Now this is very important. You know why I always think that this is important? Now, sometime in 2012, I woke up one day in 2012, I think, 2012, and I panicked. I always panic at the end of years, and I realized that. So let me share screen. So in 2012, I woke up on August 26. I realized that I'm not young anymore. I'm 40 something years old. So what do? I start to plan my whole year. Did I stop there? Okay. So 2013, my whole year I planned. And 2014, even more elaborate, right? All the country from when I go by plane, and then Cape Town, Shenzhen, Penang, Beijing. Every day, every other day, I'm on the plane. Okay, SM22, GR Singapore, Chengdu, Beijing, Stellenbosch. I'll be flying crazily. By 2015, I'm doing everything as well. Okay, and so on until 2018, 2019, 2021. Okay, so you can see every other day, even when I'm not flying, I'll be planning and lecturing. So this is what happened. Now, I am just an individual. An individual can do all the planning. And you guys, a CEO, is taking a salary. And you cannot plan the whole year. How can it be? How can you live day to day? You cannot be living day to day. You are spending my salary. You are taking of my capital to build business. A COO must prepare a 1-year plan, 3 years plan, and 5 years plan. 5 year plan can be a bit more sketchy, but 3 years plan is our IPO plan. I need a complete IPO plan. I need Hafiz to give me the whole plan for MIT. Okay, MIT for the 2022, 23, 24. Detail. When you open this, when you open that, when you want to do the technology and so on. Right? Now, if the CEO cannot do that, the company is doomed. And this schedule or this accommodation order program has to be tied in with the business plan. Right? And from here, we use it to do costing. Right? Now, otherwise, the CFO is just plugging a figure from the air. And this costing will become the budget. Now, I recommend you capture this screen. Now, this diagram is very important because many people didn't work out this whole thing. The budget must come from this sequence. This is your financial roadmap. Based on your aspiration, what you want to be, I want to touch the life of 1 billion people in Egypt, I want to sell drinking water to the world. That's your aspiration. Then I have to do the financial roadmap, how I can do that, and I set the KPI. Now this is the smartest guy, these 3 super brilliant wise men, 3 wise men, that's why we always have 3 wise men. The CEO must have a business plan. The CEO must base on the business plan and the costing has to based on that to build the budget. Now, only then this budget will be approved by the guy called the board director, the BOD approver. Now you can see the money here is something that these guys are eyeing. These guys are eyeing. There's no reason you cannot do something because the capital is there. The capital is there. But you must give me a concrete plan how you want to use the capital. Then I will approve based on budget. Right? Then now I draw down. Right? I draw down and I repay. Right? So this is something that I replenish my capital and I'll put aside provisional dividend. Now, in financial control, the 3 guys, the CFO is always assisted by the accountant and the financial controller. I'm focusing today on the financial controller. His duty is to set up a system and monitor financial situation in the company to ensure dividend and profit, okay, and not only replenish the capital, but to grow the capital of the company. That's the reason why the other day we say that even the money, there's a thing called strategic fund, then the balance is dividend. If not, your capital will never grow. So we have to grow the capital, right? So what you do when there's profit, you have to demarcate the profit. Now, this is actually set by shareholder agreement or by shareholders, right? Anything that touches the shareholder things, you must go through an AGM or EGM. And what do you do? We split the money out. Dividend already taken aside. We already taken out. Okay. Cash reserve is what we put back into capital. This usually we call this replenishment of capital. Okay. And here is the strategic. Now, how many times have you heard that? Wow, the market now, the thing is cheap. Wow, the properties are cheap. Wow, this thing is selling good price. Why didn't I buy it? We don't have war chest. There's no fun. So it is important for us that the corporate finance, the war chest is separate from the emergency cash reserve. It's used for strategic investment opportunities to grow the company. And this war chest capital account is what the CFO have to design into the firm, right? So we have this notion that this is my money, my own capital. I make money for myself. Okay, that's all I do. Most people do because this is self-employed, right? So we are just self-employed. Now, another one is that we take the bank's capital, bank's money, make money for myself, correct? This is what we do. And what do? We pay back the bank. We repay the bank. So this one, we can accept. So most people, either they are using their own money, small-timer, self-employed, or we use the bank's money, we pay back the bank. Am I right? Okay. Now treat your OPEX is your operation money. Treat your CAPEX as the bank. So if you touch the CAPEX money, you also pay back CAPEX. Now, so there's a thing. Now we take our shareholders' money, and we operate. You know what? Most people do not pay the shareholder. So we should actually repay the shareholder, and the repayment is called dividend. Okay? We have to keep the money that you contribute, we call capital. We should repay shareholder, we do dividend. And that is the model that we do. So here, apportionment of profit, expenditures, and margin. And what happened to margin? We split them 30-70. Okay? 30 go back to our capital reserve, right? Replenish capital. 70% of that goes to dividend. So 70 of 70 is 49%. Now you can change this one. It's not cast in stone. You can do 60-40, you can do 50-50, you can do 80-20, right? But I think that you should not do less than 80-20. Okay, means 20-80. Okay, you can do 30-70. Okay, you can do the other way around if you want, but always play with these type of figures. And case study, let's look at Baker & Works. Okay, so Baker & Works, they take away the thing and do that. So let's see what did they do. Now, Baker & Works have three divisions: the training division, the distribution division, and cafe. So William, he's a baker, master baker in Singapore. He's very good. He's so good that all the hotels have to send their guys for Refresher Bakery. Okay, so a training division. So as a founder, okay, for this whole thing. So what do we do? Let me do a exercise. So let's say that there's a thing called the fixed costs. Okay, the fixed costs. So there's a rental. There's also the utilities. There's also staff costs, and there's also maybe miscellaneous. So these are something that we do. So he's doing training, the founder, and maybe we spend about $12,000 a month in Singapore in the factory. It's a factory space, and so now William, he worked very hard. He trained about 48 weeks. 48 weeks. Right. So in 1 year, he just do training, and each week he do training for 2 days or 3 days, say 3 days, and he charged something like $2,500 per chef. Most of the chefs are from hotel; they're corporate money. So 3 days training, and his training room can sit about 20 guys. Okay, so this is what we do. So you can imagine 20 guys times 2005. Okay, so it's 50,000. Right. And he do about 3 days. So there are 48 trainings. That's 48 trainings. How much is that? 2.4 million, is it? So William, he generated 2.4 million. Now let's look at this is his R, his revenue. Now, how much is his expenses? So times 12 is 144K. So his expenses is 144K. Fixed cost. So this is what William is spending. Now variable costs, when you have 20 guys coming for training, okay, so these 20 guys, you have to give them refreshment, say about $30 refreshment, okay, and also you have to give them, okay, maybe plus stationery, okay, stationery of maybe $20 and all these other things is $50. So as you can see, okay, he only spent this 50 times 20, okay, is $1,000. And because William do not take a salary, he only do a speaker fee. When there's no event, there's no fee. Now this $30 is actually the flour, the sugar, the margarine. That's what they use for the whole thing. Now William take a $5,000 training fee, right? So you can see his income, right? For the 8 weeks times 5,000, that's his income. So it's quite good. So in total, we spend about variable costs about $6,000. So training we have $6,000. Now 144K. Now his factory, there's not much renovation, right? His renovation that he's pumped in was only about, his renovation is about maybe 80,000. He took over old factory. And imagine we're going to write off this whole thing in 3 years. So we're going to do at 36 months. At 36 months. So how much is that? So 80,000, yeah, by 36 months is 222. So every month is actually 2,222. Let me put 3 years easier. Okay, 3 years. So divide by 3. So 80,000 divided by 3 years because we're going to divide by 48, right? So 80,000 divided by 3 years, 80,000 divided by 3 years is 26,700. But this is 1 year per annum, right? And this 1 year, and in 1 year, he do 48 classes, right? 48 classes. So divide by 48, there's a 555 cover charge. Per course. So in other words, you have to add in 555. Am I right? So his actual, the total thing they can see is 6,555. Now, this will allow me to recoup my renovation. 6,555 is our cost. How much is per event? 50,000. Right. So 6,555 is the cost. 50,000 minus 6,555 is the margin. We need to establish the margin. Right. 50,000 minus 6,555. You have 50,000 minus 6,555. Theoretically, it is very, very powerful because he make about 43,000 per training. Right? And 43,000 divided by 50,000. What's the margin? $43 divided by 50. he got 86%. Let's say we call this 85% margin. 85%. So in other words, we established that for Bigger Works, the margin for the training itself generate 85%. Now, but there's another thing that he has a distribution. Now, distribution is something he need because when you train someone, you need to sell them things. Now, distribution have no more costs of the overhead because it's taken care by the training. And William do something like $500,000 worth of material sales. But unfortunately, he said that 70%, you know the profit concentration? Remember we talked about profit pool, this profit concentration. 70% of his item is low margin, it's a 5%. Okay. And 30% of his things are high margin. That's about 50%, like equipment, all these other things. Okay. All the perishable are low margin. So you can imagine, okay, so 5%, 30% is 350K. So this 350K is 5%, and 150K is 50%. So we know from here, there's a prospect of a gross 75K. And what about here? Here you have 35 divided by 2, 10% is 35,000. 35 divided by 2, you have 17,500. Now, his distribution has the cost is already covered here. He has a few worker, right? He have a 3 retailer. Each one is 24K. You have 3 times 24,000 is his people. Now you look carefully, actually he make 70, plus 75. His margin is 92,000 only. He may sell all this, his margin is 92,500. But the administrative cost of sales here, although we don't calculate all the electricity, is 24 times 3 is 72,000. And to minus 72,000 from the labor. Now this is attributed directly to this division, right? Minus 92.5 is 20,500. So this division only generate a 20,500 profit. So it is a very small profit. And he has another one called cafe, right? And the cafe is 250,000 at 35% margin, so it's 2,500. So there's a 30-70 split. Now, if you look back into distribution, he has to do a 30-70 split based on that. And you look back into the training, because he make money here, so every month you also have to do a 30-70 split of the 85% margin. Now, if you do that, you realize that it is very powerful because we can actually replenish all the capital, right? So the same thing with a steamboat, we call the watermelon hot pot. This is in Guangzhou. In Guangzhou, this a lady, she was a masseur to do massage from a small village. So she was working in Guangzhou, and in Guangzhou, the massage parlor have this buffet inside the thing. And she's very daring, this lady from Sichuan, okay? She actually booked the eating area from the owner of the massage parlor. And they're running 24 hours. In China, people don't stay in hotel. So if you're a traveler, you're tired, What to do? You check in at the massage parlor. Okay, you change your clothes, you take a shower, then you do the massage, you eat there, you sleep there. You save your hotel money. So that's what they do. So this little self-service thing, she had to do the early breakfast, lunch, dinner, supper, all this she's doing there. And her fixed cost was 33,800 per month. She do 300 people per day, times 30 days, 9,000 bags. So the 3,800 divided by 9,000 bags is $3.35, and this is our cover charge. She charged about $80 per bags, or $80 RMB actually, minus $60 for the cost of food, minus $375, she makes $16.25. $16.25 divided by 80 is 20% margin. So she has a small little margin, 20%, right? But she has no problem getting customer because customer just come in, roll and roll and roll and roll the whole day, right? Now at 20%, her daily sales is 24,000 times 20% is 4,008. Financial control to second bank account is 4,008 times 30%, 1,440. 4,008 times 30% is 3,006. So what do we do? Now we have 24,000 coming in, right? So we know our margin, right? 4,008 will be transferred to this account. This is a margin, 20%. And we split them 30, 70, 1, 440, and 3, 360. In other words, this restaurant, if you're a shareholder, every day she's putting aside $3,360 for all the shareholders. Is this a good investment? It's good, right? Now, because the fixed cost is fixed, anything over and above 300 people is $80 minus $60 minus zero. Why zero? Because you no longer need to pay the $375 because it's more than the 300 packs. It's $20. 20 over 80 is 25%. Now it's 25%. And 45,000 minus 24, the basic is 21,000. So 21,000 times 25%, 5,250, we call that Y. 0.3Y is 1,575. 0.7Y is 3,675 proportional dividend. So what do we do? There's 21,000 extra that came in, and we transfer 5,250 into this bank account. It's done daily, the financial controller job. You cannot say that, oh, it's so inconvenient. That's your job, right? So you transfer that. And 30% goes to capital account, 70% goes to provisional dividend account. So we know that everything is by design. Now let's look at the restaurant KPI again, the previous example. So we have the restaurant and the fixed cost is 50K, right? And we know our capex is 5 years, okay? It's about 60 months. So we transfer 10K back here to make 60,000. And we know the restaurant variable that we calculate is 9,000 packs. So here, yeah, by 9,000 packs, we have a $6.67. We call it a cover charge, right? And since we know we are charging 40 ringgit or $40 per person, fixed cost is 40%, $16, that's $24. And we minus the cover charge of $6.67, $17.33, and they give us a profit margin of 17,33040 of 0.3%. Okay, for 3.3%. Now, if my sales is 12,000 for today, what do? I transfer for 3%, 5,160 over here. So I transfer. This is a financial control job. And you have to do financial control, okay? And in order for us to do financial control, we must calculate the thing correctly. So many of the entrepreneurs did not calculate their business correctly. Right? So there's the duty when Nash do incubation, you have to make sure that it's done. You repay over to this side. What happened? 30%, 1,548. 70%, 3,612. Now this one, we keep aside to be paid to our shareholder. But there's something interesting here. I know it's 1,548. I'm recouping at 1,548. And my renovation was 600,000. Am I right? 600,000. And I'm recouping at 1,548. So 1,548 times 300 days. 300 days. You don't need to work 365 days. It's 464,400. right? And my dividend, 3612 times 300 days, I got 1 million worth of dividend. Now that's a lot. My capital contribution was 600,000 maybe, or more than 600,000, but I know that I have 1 million for dividend. Now, I have deployed 600,000, divided by 464, I will return on capital in 1.3 years, because I know my deployment 600k, and my financial control is recapping this 464, right? 1548 times 300 days. If those Malaysian, we do 365 days, right? Most of the restaurant, right? So you realize I need to have 16 months. I get back all my money. Now, this is very important because it's not what you say, it is how you perform and how you budget that. So, Dr. Aslan Bacho, MDC Asia, they have IPO plan to target 1 billion. Okay. So we know that PE ratio, reference PE for dental is 42 times. I play safe 36 times. Right? People think that I'm very gung-ho. Yes, I'm very gung-ho because I transform the gassiness, and gassiness means the not willing to lose and not willing to die into a conservative approach. So I'm not conservative. So 1,000 divided by 36, we have the KPI of 27.8 million. And profit margin is 30% for the dental. So this means at 25%, okay, I'm again conservative, I think 25%, right? The revenue required, this one divided by 25 times 100, 111.11. So MDC Asia needs to have a revenue of 111 million. Now let's look at this is target. We have two dental chairs, and we operate 8 hours a day. Am I right? And we have two turnaround. So people come for half an hour, they turn around. Right? This capacity. And we are so poor in appointment, 60%. What's 60%? Less than 2/3. Means every 3 days, 1 day no business. That's what we mean by 60%. And what do? Times 6 days a week, because Aslan Bacho's wife, the boss, Dr. Z, complained she had to work 7 days a week. So now she do 6 days a week. So 2 chairs, 8 hours, okay, half an hour each, 2 times turnaround, 60% appointment rate, 6 days. How many people? Times 48 weeks. You know why? Because in Malaysia, we have too many holidays. Chinese New Year, we take holiday. Christmas, we take holidays. Deepavali, we take holidays. And all the festivals, take holidays. And Christmas, we have holiday. Everything we have a holiday. So we lost few weeks. And average payment is 200 per customer. We are getting 1 million, 1.1 million. Now we know that outlets is 111.1 million, right? Divide by 1.0106. I need to open 101 clinics. My fundraising must produce enough money to do 101 clinics. So we do that. Now there's a thing called butterfly effect. Simply explain. Now the butterfly flip here in California. Somewhere in Vietnam, there's a typhoon, right? So a small little leverage may have consideration or consequences that beyond our mind. So I'm going to play with a small little effect, 60%, $200. What if I change it to 65%? Still less than 2/3, 66% is 2/3. I get my IT guy, I get my guys to do Facebook ad, Instagram ad to increase by 5%. And I give more value. I give free toothbrush, I give free dental thing. So what will happen? 2 chairs, 8 hours, 2 times around, 65%, 6 days for the 8 weeks. Same. It's exactly the same. Right? Times 250. My revenue is 1.4 million. And the other 1.4 million is 75 clinics. I save 25% effort by touching a 5% change of my efficiency. Now this is very powerful butterfly effect. So in financial control, we must understand the lever, the lever, that we can do leveraging. So we need to leverage on the right KPI, right? So here, what if I do 12 hours? Come on, man. work from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., 12 hours, that's all 12 hours, right? Now, 2 chairs, 12 hours, 2 times around, 65%, same 6 days for the Apex, no extra chair, no extra renovation, 2.2 million. So 1.1 million divided by 2.2 million, 50 clinics. Now, it's crazy because instead of 201 clinics, now I just need 35 clinics, I need 50 clinics. So the financial controller is so crucial because he will know where to play, where to monitor the costs, okay, where to see, okay, so where the financial budgeting, right, by the cost accountant working with you, then you'll be able to redo the whole thing. So now I know that to hit my 1 billion, if my revenue is 112.3 at 25% margin, these are all the leverage. Capital expenditure 30%, dividend 30%. I know that I'm paying out 19 million worth of dividend. My recoup is 8.4 million a year. My profit margin 25%. I can, based on 2.2 million revenue, 50 clinics, I hit my KPI. Now with this, okay, a conclusion. All companies require strict financial control and the financial discipline. Without this, no matter how good you are, you're not going to have profit to share. The company will have no money. And it needs a whole new mindset and techniques in funding and to growth structure. I'll pass it back to Nash.
Okay, well, thank you, Dr. Wong. Well, there you go. That is the. You guys can hear me, right? Okay,
Should
that's
we
why
call a few guys
I.
or sharing, Nash?
Yeah, I can. So we're gonna do some asking and sharing, take photos, and then we'll book you into the room. Okay.
Yeah.
So, Devin, you have a question? Sharing.
Wong, what was the turnaround mean? What does turnaround mean?
Oh, you see the thing, there's a table. Basically, the table you see, turn around means that in one hour,